Hello, everyone. It's time for Vanished Chicagoland Stories, the podcast. I'm your host, Pete Costanis. This is episode 318, season 13. Today's date is March 24th, 2024, and welcome to the show. I like that. It's 32424. 32424. On today's program, I'm going to talk about the 60th anniversary of the debut of Chicago television station, WCIU-TV Channel 26 in Chicago. Mind you, it's still around, but I'm going to talk about its history, and it has been it's been changed over the years. And I'll talk about my memories of watching the station when I was a kid, because it's not like today. It was so different. Also, I will talk about Falstaff Beer. Talk about my memories of that beer, and that would be interesting as well. Right now, the program will go into a commercial break. This program is brought to you by Burger King Specialty Sandwiches. And this is a commercial from the late 1970s. And as you listen to the commercial, they introduce a new line of sandwiches besides hamburgers, besides Whoppers. So after the commercial is played, I will explain. Okay? So sit back, kick off your shoes, relax, and I'll be right back with the program, folks. Thank you.
Who's got something brand new you never had before?
Who's got the best darn burger and a whole lot more? Burger King introduces 4 new specialty sandwiches.
The chicken is a new filet, white meat through and through. Our chopped beef steak is U.S. choice. The ham and cheese is new. A great fish sandwich, too.
Who's got the best darn burger and a whole lot more?
New specialty sandwiches.
Burger King and Ryan.
Hey, it's Bill Simmons from the Bill Simmons Podcast. The NBA playoffs are here, and Michelob Ultra is getting you closer to the game than ever with courtside seats and more. Enter now at MichelobUltra.com/courtside. Michelob Ultra Superior Access Courtside 2024 to 2025 sweepstakes. No purchase necessary. Open to U.S. residents 21 or older. Ends on July 1st, 2025. Multiple entry periods. Visit MichelobUltra.com/superior access/courtside for free entry deadlines, and official rules. Message and data rates may apply. Void where prohibited.
Okay, everyone, I am back. I hope you enjoyed the commercial for Burger King Specialty Sandwiches. They were introduced in 1978, and then they expanded a year later to all restaurants. That's when the original chicken sandwich was introduced. And believe it or not, it's still on the menu. The rest are gone, as the ones you heard on the commercial, that is. They had ham and cheese, roast beef, and fish. They have fish, but it's different like that. I never tried it. So the menu has changed over the years, and they added more stuff, like that. When I worked at Burger King in 1980, probably 82, late 1981 to 82, I was at Daly College on the southwest side of Chicago. I got a job at a Burger King in the Brighton Park neighborhood. And, I worked part-time. I went to school. That was a little tough, back then. I wasn't doing well in my studies. I was just a little aimless. I didn't know what I didn't want to do with my life. I'm not sure. I didn't really want to go to Daly. I just want to, go to work, or just goof off. Sounds irresponsible. Yeah, it does back then. So Got the job. I was working at the broiler. You place the Whoppers in the broiler. I did that. Easy job. You place and then you put them in the bag, and then you go up front, and then you take them with the tongs, and then you place the burgers on the hamburgers, and then you put them in a warmer. I don't know what they do now today. Maybe the same, I imagine. So, besides that, I also made sandwiches. We now they come in boxes, but they didn't do that. First, they came and like you wrap them. They trained me to do that. As sandwich making, I wasn't bad. You have to remember, you had to listen what the cashier was saying. Today they have them on the screen. They have TV screens. They should have had that, but when I was there, that would have been easier. But now you got to listen. If you have good hearing, because it's chaotic around lunchtime, like that. So, because they're all different. Some people don't want lettuce, they don't want onion, they want extra mayonnaise. Blah blah blah. The only job I dread doing was cashier. I was nervous talking to people. I didn't like that. Drive-thru was okay. But cashier, I was scared as a cat. I hated that part of the job. I did make sandwiches. I also made the fish sandwiches, the ham and cheese. I cleaned up. What else I did? I did the fries. And then, this is like a subject of Burger King. I'm sorry about that. So, and then that job lasted about a year. Then I started and I enrolled in DeVry, Institute of Technology up north, full time. I told my parents that I don't want to work. I want to concentrate on full studies because I really want to make a difference for myself. They said, fine, do that. Quit your job and go full time. And I did. They were very supportive like that. I didn't have a car back then, so I did borrow my mother's car, or we had two cars at the time, so I used it for work. But when I went to DeVry, I didn't rely on a car. I took public transportation. I took the CTA and I took the Blue Line. It's called the Congress O'Hare line, and I did that every day for about 3 years. Like that. As for Burger King, I still go there once in a while. I love Whoppers, love hamburgers, and the last change. My favorite sandwich of all, besides the chicken sandwich, I love the Italian version, like Parmesan. You have breaded chicken with Marinara sauce and mozzarella cheese. That is good. I love that one. They don't bring that often. It comes and goes, and I don't know if it's still on the menu. Maybe it is. No. So like I said, fast food is. I'm so weakened by that. I get a craving for that now and then, but I'm trying to stay away, because of my health. That's the way it is. Got to be careful. Got to be careful. So when they introduced these sandwiches, that was a big deal. When I was working there at Burger King, they introduced another one, bacon double cheeseburgers. We used to put the bacon and all that. They still do that. I believe they do that. But, that's not good for your... it's too salty. Like that. Okay. At the beginning of the program, I mentioned I'm going to talk about the 60th anniversary of the debut of WCIU-TV Channel 26 in Chicago, and I will talk about Falstaff Beer. Before I get started, I want to mention one thing. I won't do a podcast Tuesday because I'm going to be a little busy with something. Something came up. So I'll probably do one over the weekend, next weekend, that is. And of course, I mentioned before, I have some doctor's appointments. Tomorrow, I'm going to have a consultation with the radiologist, see what she says, hopefully. And then Wednesday, I have an appointment with my urologist. The funny thing is, my mother talked to my cousin in Greece, and she's a nurse. And she explained what's going on with me. And she says, didn't they do a biopsy on this? I go, no, they didn't do that. So that's kind of odd. But she said that my cousin said, it's probably nothing. It's just a lesion. So once, radiation burns off things, I think it does. I think that's its purpose. It'll probably come off and you'll be okay. I hope so. I want to get this over with. Then the PSA will go down, and then we'll see about the medications. We'll see about that because I'm taking 2. I'm on my last one on Orgovix tomorrow. I haven't got a refill because of insurance again. It's kind of stupid. So if I see the urologist Wednesday, I'll explain. I think he's aware of it, but he's not too happy about that. He makes me laugh. So hopefully he can straighten it out. And once I go for sessions for radiation, I don't know how many it'll be, 1 to 5, 2, 3, I don't know. If everything's fine, the PSA's down, then maybe I don't need the Xtandi, the other medication, or maybe I don't need the Orgovix. I think I'll be okay. But I think the Orgovix will stick around. But maybe I don't need the Xtandi. So that's good. I hope it's good news. And that's one less medication. Okay. All right. Now let's get started on WCIU-TV Channel 26 in Chicago. Now, when I was growing up, I remember seeing this station of my old black and white Zenith TV that we first owned in the 1970s in the Rosa neighborhood of Chicago. I remember my dad bought it. It was black and white. We didn't get color until much later. And so I'll give you how it started when it went on the air, because I missed the anniversary of that, of the debut of the station. So it happened February 6, 1964. That's when it first aired. Okay. And the founder of this station was a man named John J. Weigel. If that last name sounds familiar to you, it does, because his son was Tim Weigel, who used to do the sports on WMAQ-TV Channel 5 and also on WLS Channel 7 for many years. Very nice man. Unfortunately, he died of a brain tumor a long time ago. He's also his son, Rafer Weigel. He did the sports. I think he did the sports, and he was, and then he does broadcast news. He moved to St. Louis, and then he came back here, and then he left again, and he went to San Diego. Now I found out he's doing something different. I talked to him on Facebook. He's a very nice guy. He's and he does follow my page and Van Chicagoland, which is awesome. All right, so the station they put multi-ethnic entertainment. Not much like reruns or news stuff. And the other people who had a minor interest were, there was a businessman named Howard Shapiro and his brother Gene. They had an appliance store called CET. If you remember from the old commercials, and they showed like on Channel 9 or Channel 32, it's like it stood for Chicago Engineers for Television. You would rent TVs, and they took over the broadcasting about 2 years later, 1966. Okay. From all that time, they had religious programs, Spanish language programs. One of the programs that stood out was the Chicago. It was a stock market observer. It's that show where you see all the stocks on the bottom, on the bottom of the screen, and you see all the stock quotes, going back and forth like that, going from right to left like that. I used to see that. I don't know. I don't know. I found that fascinating as a kid. Now it's a kind of dull. I remember Jack Taylor did that for a while. And it was the studio was at the top floor of the Chicago Board of Trade building on West Jackson Boulevard, you know. And one of the most controversial shows they had on the station was bullfighting from the Spanish International Network. Now, I don't know who decided that or why this came to be. So I don't remember seeing it, but that's according to most people that follow Van Chicagoland. They mentioned this in the comics. They used to watch that and they found it fascinating. But you know, bullfighting is a huge sport in Mexico and Spain. They love it. They go crazy. It's like soccer in Europe and here football, of course, here. Oh boy. You know, sports fans are passionate, even back then. Also, they had another TV show, which a lot of people are familiar. They had Kitty A Go-Go. Used to be on Channel 9. Then they moved it to Channel 26. And it was hosted by Elaine Mulqueen. You know, they had the puppets and they had a dance show. Remember her? And also, the most famous show that they had on was Soul Train. Yes, Soul Train, and it made its debut in 1970. The creator was Don Cornelius, if you remember. He was the host. He was an employee of the station, and it was a big hit, a huge hit. They had dancing, you know. I remember watching it. It was like everyone looked like they had a good time. They're all like dancing like that. And then it moved. I think it moved to Channel 9 later on, you know. And so, you know. And then other memories of that station I had were like on Sundays. You know, they had ethnic programming. I remember Polish, Lithuanian, of course, Spanish. What else they had? Also Greek. Of course, you know, they had a Greek program, and there was a local Greek show called Hellenic Theater. I'm going to talk about that show someday because a lot of Greeks have requested, please talk about Hellenic Theater. You know, talk about that, and I will someday. So that aired from 7 o'clock, I think 7 to 8. You know, maybe I think they expanded to 2 hours. No, not really, an hour. That was hosted by a man. His name was Bobby Papademos. And he would get on. He would smoke a big cigar, you know, introduce acts and you know, he had sponsors, you know. I'll talk about a little more about him one day, you know, because I find him fascinating. My mom started watching this show, and so do her friends, people from our church. The Greek community started watching this. The problem was we only had one television set at the time. So I couldn't watch anything, or my brother, you know, me and my brothers, we couldn't watch anything from 7 to 8, which was a downer because they had some good programming on Sunday nights. That's until we moved to our house in 1974. We got the TV in the living room. My mom could watch that, and then I would get my own TV. Eventually, we got a TV in the basement, so that we were free from that, you know. And then that show lasted for a long time until I believe when Bobby Papademos died. You know, his children took over it, but it wasn't very successful, and they yanked it. They also had Greek programming, and that lasted, you know, for a while. Believe it or not, my mom still watches a Greek program, but it's not on the U. It's not on Channel 26. It's on Channel 62 every Sunday. So it's sort of the same thing, like that. And then they had Spanish programming. There was one called Ayuda, something like that. And that lasted for much of the 70s and the 80s, like that. And then they had Univision and Telemundo. Those are the Spanish networks. They had that. Then all of a sudden, in 1995, WCIU turned into the U, and they started broadcasting in English. Okay. And they buying because there was a station called Channel 66. This is WGBO, and then those Spanish networks went to that, I believe. And they went earlier, I assume so. So it became the U, and I think on New Year's Day, 1995, I believe, they started broadcasting American television. And I remember the promos. I remember the reruns of the Munsters, Leave It to Beaver, other programming. And of course, Svengoolie came back. He was canceled in the late 80s. And you know what? Svengoolie came back, hosted by Rich Kaz. And it was great seeing him. Oh, it was wonderful. He just picked up he just picked up where he took off, and then he's still doing this today, but he's on MeTV, which I watch all the time, and he's hilarious, and he's a nice man. He's also my friend on Facebook. Okay. So, then over the years, then they had the WB, Warner Brothers television that was on Channel 9. That was then became the CW, and but they had the kids programming there, like that. That ran for about 8 or 9 years. Then programming got a little different, And then, right now it's not, they don't show reruns much, not really. They show like court shows or reality shows, kind of garbage TV. But sometimes they showed sports, sometimes basketball, maybe college basketball, baseball, once in a while, like that. Like that. Also, let's see what else they had. Other programming, they had the Bob Lewandowski show. Oh, they also had like polka, something with Eddie Carosa's polka party. A lot of people remember that. Also, they had the Marty Fay show. That was way back in the 60s, Also, the Outdoor Sportsman. A lot of people remember that, Okay, and let's see what else they had. Also, when WCIU first went on the air, you had to buy a converter box. They didn't have TVs equipped with that station at first, so you had to buy a box. Convert. Just you've heard of that. You would connect to your TV, and it's like it's UHF, VHF, same thing with Channel 32, Channel 44, Channel 20, just like that. But later on, you didn't need it anymore. That was the end of that. Okay. For the program, I found in the Chicago Tribune the programming guide of what was on the first day they debuted on February 6, 1964. They only had 2 shows on. Excuse me. They had opening night that started at 6 o'clock in the evening by John Weigel. And he just presented the station. That lasted about an hour and a half. I wish somebody would have a tape of that. That'd be awesome. I want to see it. So it was an opening night ceremony. It was broadcasted from the Board of Trade in downtown Chicago. Right after that, it aired a basketball game. It was a basketball game. It was between New York and Philadelphia. I think it was the Knicks and the 76ers. And that was it. But later on, they added more programming like that. And I think Two-Town Baker had a show, and I forgot the name of it. I couldn't think of that. But they did air reruns, a few in the 70s. Not many. No, it's like the late 60s. And then, like I said before, they did... they went to ethnic programming. Okay. All right. So right now, I'm going to take a break for a moment. And next up, I'm going to talk about Falstaff Beer. Okay. So I'll be right back, folks. Thank you. Okay, everyone, I am back. I took a quick break. Now I'm going to talk about Falstaff Beer. You're probably asking yourself, why am I talking about this beer? It has no Chicago ties. That is wrong. No, it does. That is very memorable in this town as well. I'll give you a little history of that. Falstaff was founded in St. Louis, Missouri, and it started in 1838. First it was called Lemp Brewery. Then and then they renamed it after the Shakespearean character Sir John Falstaff. Yeah, you learn something new every day. And it was just then it just took off, and so the founders of the beer, their names were John Adam Lemp and also William J. Lemp, and also the Grieseldijk brothers. I can't pronounce that name. That's bad. All right. So it took a while to get popular, and in the 1960s, it became the third largest brewer in America. Let's see that. Okay. And what's memorable about this beer was not the beer itself, its advertising, and also associated with the Chicago White Sox. That started in the 70s, throughout the 70s, basically. And it was endorsed by none other than Chicago White Sox announcer Kerry Carey. Oh, I remember this. This is hilarious. He would say, I remember watching him on television, maybe on the radio, mostly on television, and he would endorse the beer many times, and he would go, Falstaff, real loud. My brother did that. Falstaff. Well, he was about 10 or 11 years old. He did that. And he always held the beer in his hand. In fact, he held a lot of beer in his hand, but it wasn't just Falstaff. No, it was just other types of beer, brands of beer as well. I see pictures of him when he held Schlitz. Meisterbrow? Maybe not. No. No. So I remember it was a sponsor for the Chicago White Sox. First it was on Channel 32, then it's Channel 44. That's when the Chicago White Sox, the rights of the airing of the games moved from 32 to Channel 44. And I remember, Channel 44 was kind of a small station, just like Channel 26, like I mentioned. And they aired reruns of TV shows. They had local programming. They had Spanish programming. But this time they had baseball. And, of course, hockey. They did that. I don't know if Falstaff sponsored the Chicago Blackhawks. I don't think so. I'm not sure. I think it's just baseball. Anyway, there were times where Harry Carey was shown on TV, and he would start singing, "Take me out to the ball game," and he'd be holding a glass of beer or a can of beer. And, you remembered, most fans will remember him, seeing him. I'm sure he was drunk most of the time. I'm sure he was. Oh, what a character. I had to talk about him one day. It's funny. I think I did. Yeah, I think I did. So, but then it fell out of popularity. And then around the late 70s, the original plant in St. Louis closed. And then others did as well. And the last one that closed was in Fort Wayne, Indiana. And now it was licensed to Pabst Blue Ribbon. So they got that. Of course, Pabst Blue Ribbon, I don't know. They're from Milwaukee, I guess. So I guess they continued to do that. And then they, believe it or not, Falstaff stopped around about 2005. Yeah, I didn't see it much, As for me drinking it, I did try it. It wasn't bad. It was okay. I'm not much of a beer drinker. I like Greek beer. That's another story. So, but most people remember Falstaff Beer associated with Harry Carey. They did. Okay, right now I'm going to play a commercial for it's old Falstaff Beer. This is like from the late 50s, 1960s. I wish I could find some audio of Harry Carey, touting this beer during a White Sox game. That'd be kind of cool, to listen to that. Also be, like I said, it'd be cool and it'd be hilarious, and very memorable. All right. So here's the commercial for Falstaff Beer, and when I come back, I will wrap up the show, folks. All right. So thank you, and I'll be right back.
For man-sized pleasure, this is the one. Get pleasure, Falstaff size, the most refreshing beer a thirsty man can pour. Yet light enough to leave room for more.
Man-sized pleasure, every premium quality Falstaff you pour. Falstaff always takes extra care to make the finest beer possible, even to cascading every brew over the Falstaff chilling tower, instantly icing down each brew to protect that famous premium quality taste every step of the way, till it's safely capped in and you're ready to enjoy it. Satisfying to your man-sized thirst, light enough to leave room for more.
For man-sized pleasure, this is the one. Premium quality Falstaff beer.
ChatGPT Plus is free for college students through May. Here's the thing. You've got a lot to do between now and then. Studying for finals, writing papers, trying to keep your life on track, and ChatGPT can help with all of it. It can quiz you for your econ exam, make a study guide from your French notes, plan out your meals and study breaks. It can get really specific on how you like to learn. It can even help you come up with ways to stop procrastinating. So from now until summer break, take advantage of all the ways ChatGPT can make your life easier. Restrictions apply.
Okay, everyone, I'm back. I hope you enjoyed the commercial for Falstaff Beer. It's like a man's beer. Oh my God. That's how it was. They advertised beer in the old days, like almost on a daily basis, all day long. You had the ones that we have now, Budweiser, Old Style, what else? And beer that's no longer in production. Stroh's, Michelob. I think Michelob's still on. Yeah, that's still on. Olympia beer, Old Milwaukee. Blatz, Black Label, you name it, like that. Stag. The list goes on and on and on and on. Laurenbrow, of course. Okay. So that's it for this program. I'll do a recap of what I talked about. I talked about the 60th anniversary of the debut of WCIU-TV Channel 26 in Chicago. And, of course, Falstaff Beer. And this podcast will be published later on today, wherever podcasts are available, on any apps, like, for example, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, Breaker, Overcast. If you tap on those apps on your phone, your desktop, your iPad, your tablet, your laptop, just tap, listen in, click follow to get notifications of further episodes, or you like to listen to previous episodes as you wish. Also, be on my blog, chicagoland.blog. can listen there. It'll take you click on there, it'll take you a link to listen on Spotify. Also, it'll be published on my YouTube channel. Again, people ask me, where do I find your podcast? Where do I find your podcast? Go to YouTube, do a search, Van Chicagoland Stories, or type my name. You will find it. Click subscribe. You can listen to the latest episode, or you can listen to previous episodes, and you'll get a notification on your devices. Also, it'll be published on my social media accounts. I'll have the link. It'll take you right there to the podcast. It'll be on Facebook, X, LinkedIn, Reddit, Instagram, Blue Sky, Threads, and I forgot what else. TikTok, of course. Okay, so this is Pico Stanish, your host for Van Chicagoland Stories. Thank you for joining me. And today is a little chilly on this Sunday. Yeah, on this Sunday. You have to excuse me. I have a little head cold. I've been kind of achy and, kind of stuffed up. I just had some orange juice. Now I'm going to make some hot tea. Just relax for the rest of the day. I'm just a little worn out. I'm still tired. I should be more energetic. I want to be energetic, but that's not the case. Okay, so here's bye-bye for me, and here's Ray Rayner with a little traveling music saying bye-bye-bye. Take care, everyone, and so long.
We have to go. Bye, bye, bye.